Your creative spirit needs to hear this. How to unleash your creativity into the world and raise your self-esteem. I think about self-esteem and I think about your creativity in the world and how you can potentially endeavor to fulfill that at the highest token possible, right? For me, I think it starts off with trust. It starts off with understanding and knowing the way your own voice sounds in creativity, no matter what medium it is, whether it's music, whether it's painting, whether it's being a mechanic, whether it's being a writer, whether it's being just a sound design artist, or whether it's just a person that does the lighting on a set. I think it starts off with trust. I think that we have to trust and we have to know that what it is that we're bringing is worth bringing. And that, for example, every ear may not be destined to hear every single word that somebody is speaking in a song. Everybody doesn't love every single song. And I think that we have to endeavor to continue to sing our song and continue to write our words and our lyrics, no matter or regardless to whom may, deflect that and not want to hear it. We have to trust that what it is that we're bringing is necessary, that it's valuable, and that there's a place for it. I think I work on those things myself as well, because when I'm recording and making some music, or I'm playing a particular instrument, sometimes I pick up plenty of instruments that I'm quite frankly or quite literally a beginner on, or a novice, or whatever somebody may say. But what I've told myself long ago is that if I'm able to make an instrument make the sound that I want it to make, then I'm playing the instrument. You know what I mean? It doesn't, and when I say it, still leaning back and giving reference to whatever artistic, creative medium that it is that you're applying yourself to. But whatever it is that you're applying yourself to, it's a source that if you're gaining and having control over what it is that you're trying to express, then you're playing it. And sometimes that doesn't even go with the control thing. Sometimes you gotta realize that whatever it is that you're using that's a tool also has its own voice too, and its own characteristics. So that trust is a two-way street between you and whatever instrument, whatever tool it is that you're using to evoke creativity. We can try to place a sense of expression on something, but we shouldn't try to force our will upon any creative source, because it's something that comes to us. It's a gift. Creativity is a gift, and I think that similar to relationships, we should be somewhat, sensitive to what it is that, we're trying to express, knowing that we have a thing that we want to say, but a tool is constructed out of different materials, and these materials most of the time come from the earth. And I think that we can all agree that nature has a voice. When you're in nature, when the wind hits the trees and the leaves and the butterflies flutter and the birds sing, they all have a voice. So I think that, we have to just continue to trust that whatever conversation that we're trying to have through something, is gonna, ultimately is going to lead to becoming an amalgamation of the connection of what the tool or the instrument is trying to say, along with what we're trying to say. So it's gonna be a collage, you know what I mean? And I think that we have to just kind of release that control and realize that we are somewhat shaping the clay, but the clay is also becoming what it's going to become as well. I think that trust will also allow us to really be able to pursue our best work. And so what does it really take to pursue your best work is a fantastic question that I've been kind of paying attention to a lot lately. I've been researching, just internally about what it really takes to pursue my best work. I think that it takes consistent action. I think that I have to, continue hammering. You know what I mean? You can be hammering for like gold or whatever, panning for gold, or trying to chisel away, or break away at something. And a lot of people would say that, man, it was just that one lucky hit that made it happen. But actually, it was all of the other ones leading up to that one point that made that one strike at gold like actually successful. And so we have to stay consistent at whatever it is we're doing. I know we've heard this so many times, but I actually would like to define consistent in a very different manner. I think that consistency is a style. I think that everyone has their own pattern for consistency. You know what I mean? Like, for example, like seasons. I talk to a lot of people that go in and out of doing whatever it is, this thing that they enjoy to do, whether it's photography or whether it's cooking, whatever. I talk to so many people, and then they, like, some of their tools, for example, they'll buy and sell their tools because, they think they're not into it. But what I've started to notice from my own studio, from selling different things and buying different things, I've started to realize what were mainstay tools for my studio. And it helped me understand things like, for example, when I was talking about the photographers, right? I know a lot of photographers that they do know that, for example, they shoot the majority of their work during the warmer seasons, or much like people will know that, hey, wedding photography has its seasons. And so I say this all the time, but I would endeavor you all to start to, while you're paying attention to what your consistent action is, to start to kind of define for yourself what those seasons are when you do certain type of work. Because if we can be more discerning to the seasons in which we create, we will definitely be able to go down the yellow brick road of how can we pursue our best work. I think that for me, I've noticed that my consistent action is that I love to do work in the mornings. Sometimes you can't do them in the mornings. I have a particular day job right now at a camera shop where I'm occupied during the daytime, and I'm pretty much off like 2 days out of the week. And so I try my best not to let that get in the way of my consistent action in terms of pursuing my best work. For example, it's Wednesday, 4/17, and it's 1:00 in the morning in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm working on this video because it's a new season for me. It's a season of me trying to discover if perhaps I can create my best work, maybe even during the evening time or early morning time, And what I've learned is through consistent action, it yields such a large amount of results. You not only see the work come out, but you feel great when you're in your other stations in life. When I'm at work and maybe I'm not ever really tired at work, but what I'm trying to say is just that I get such an energy payback from doing my work. When I'm at work during the day on the clock, I feel like $1 million when I realize that I really put into my music, I really put into my filming, just getting better as an artist. I often talk about making a long list of your hobbies. And, I know I'm digressing right now, but one of the things that I do in terms of creating my best work is I have you know, you can call it a list of hobbies, but it's not really hobbies, but you make a list of activities that you would want to make up what your entire day would be consumed with if you were by choice. Like if you could choose to do anything you wanted to do every single day, make a list of all of those things. And after you make a list of all of those things, try your best to fill your free time or any time that you have with those activities. And then you'll start to notice that as you get better at those things and people start to get interested in those things that you're doing, you'll start to be able to leverage those things to ultimately kind of fire the things that you don't want to be doing, because those things will become beneficial and they'll become income and revenue generating hobbies. But I think that just being consistent at those things will definitely help you to pursue your best work. I think that's a special task that we all should endeavor to, you know, apply ourselves to definitely daily. I think that we also should allow things to unfold and you'll find your purpose in life. You can't, I'm not gonna say you can't, because I won't tell anybody what to do with their lives, and I think that we are all in a sense of becoming, but I think that we kind of, while we're being consistent and while we're not, you know, being lazy, applying ourselves, I think that it's rather rewarding to be discerning to how things are actually unfolding around you, because at times there'll be opportunities that you didn't see coming, because you were being too disciplined or too strict, or the fact that you were deciding the way that things were supposed to happen, that you didn't allow space for something out of the ordinary. You know what I mean? I guess in other words, what I'm really trying to say is just really, really be accepting. You know what I mean? Like, you're putting forth this hard effort. You're trying to unleash your creativity to the world. You're trying to trust yourself and what you create and what comes out of your creations, and also out of those tools, with consistent action. And so as you do those things, it'll serve you to not be concrete or rigid about what your results end up becoming, because after you do that one time, things might not be exactly how you want them to be or how you thought or designed them to be, but sometimes exactly what happens is exactly what we need to happen. You know, prime example for me, you know, I'm into the Con 20K Sousaphone. I love them, played them since high school. I had a brand new one when I played in high school. But what's really interesting is at the age of 36, I am getting ready to purchase the Con 20K, and it's not a brand new one, but what's more unique to me and more befitting, because it works for me and the set of results that's actually happening to unfold for me, is that more so than acquiring the brand new one, I happen to be acquiring the vintage one from the 1950s, which is made out of, I've heard, really great materials. I'm not going to say so much better than the new models, but, you know, I'm an old school kind of guy. I mean, you know, I got my Oldsmobile hat on, and I love old cars, and sometimes the results that unfold for you during your consistent action will be results that more so fit your particular style, your particular personality, the particular characteristic attributes that make you who you are. And the results that unfold will be unique results that unfold. But another beautiful thing about those things is, you know, I love how people back in the day used to say that everything is everything, because you'll inevitably acquire the type of results that you specifically need to acquire. You know, never forget what people used to say, that there'll never be a better you than you. Nobody else will be able to do you better than you. So just make sure that you're being truthful and trusting to unfold your own consistent habits. Therefore, you can build your own best work. And You know, I think this section of the video is a great section for this portion of what your creative spirit needs to hear. Yo, so another thing that I had to kind of do, or one thing that I'm working on doing that, you know, I'd like to share with you all as well, is that, you know, try to go with your gut feeling. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's something that I've been learning. It's something that I've, you know, been exposed to by some of my favorite creators, some of my favorite you know, people of creativity and so on and so forth, is to go with your gut feeling. You know, don't negotiate with yourself. You know what I mean? Just like, if you're really feeling something, you know, go with it. You know, and the funny part about that is that sometimes it's like extremely subtle. You know, you may perhaps be surprised that, you know, it's like the quiet, still voice. You know, in Christianity, we call it, you know, the Holy Spirit. You know, some people call it your gut feeling. Some people call it, you know, sixth sense. You know, some people call it, you know, just this feeling or whatever. But, you know, it's really interesting when you start to kind of go with your gut feeling and the things that come about, the ways that, you know, you'll turn in the different directions you'll go. You know, I remember Andre 3000 used to say, like, he was going left while everybody else was going right. You know, and that's something, it seems like he's still kind of doing it. But, you know, yeah, go with your gut feeling. You know what I mean? And I think it takes some time to also, like, chill out and relax, and also, like, clear out all the noise so that you can see that your thoughts and your gut feeling is actually your thoughts and your gut feeling. Because sometimes you'd be surprised at how, if you're constantly allowing yourself to receive thoughts from outer, you know, substances, whether it's and when I say substances, I don't mean like things, but more so I mean like avenues of inspiration. You know, I mean, even myself, I remember my style. I looked at my style, and all of a sudden, my style had basically become a culmination of all the things that I was aware of on social media. You know, you see this, you see that, you see black and white dunks all the time, and, you know, I'm not knocking that shoe or anything like that, but sometimes you just don't realize that you've not developed your own style, and that, you know, you're going on other things that you've seen before, and maybe you're thinking that those are actually your decisions. But sometimes we need to kind of clear out everything and just spend some alone time to get back to what your actual gut feeling, third eye, Holy Spirit, you know, what it is that for you is, you know, that pure, untainted voice within inside. That's your actual, you know, your actual persona and your actual communication for what actually defines your actual personality and character attributes. You know, I think, you know, it's also interesting that, you know, as you're understanding and learning more so of what, you know, your gut feeling is, and, you know, how, you know, excuse me, when to, you know, go forward, and when you hear that voice, it's like you also learn how to kind of raise your vibration, if you will, and raising your vibration actually increases, you know, serendipity. You know, I talk about this funny thing that's like dancing for no reason, even if it's badly, because, you know, you can't even dance if you're in a bad mood. You know what I mean? So even if you dance poorly, or you don't think that you dance real well, you know what I mean? Like, get up and move your body, you know what I mean, to, you know, your favorite song or favorite pastime tune, or, you know, whatever it is, you know, just get up and kind of move. You can raise your vibration, you know, and you're in control of that, you know. So raise that vibration. And what's really interesting is, you know, when you do so, it's kind of like, I know it sounds interesting, but it's kind of like laws of attraction and like manifestation and things of that nature. I don't know, I can't remember how that relates to like different spiritual practices and so on and so forth. But maybe even in like meditation, you know, you raise your vibration. I know like in I think in like some form of Buddhism, like people chant, you know, and so like chanting is like a way that people raise their vibration. But like, you know, actually in Christianity it would be praise and worship, you know, as a way to raise your vibration. But there's just so many different ways that you can raise your vibration. And you know, obviously like the part two that I was saying was that raising your vibration increases serendipitous moments, which is the great things happening to you, good things happening to you, you noticing things that you wouldn't notice, positive things of that nature, you know. I know I was moving extremely fast at work, and I just keeping up this really cool pace, like pretty fast, you know, out of the usual, you know, something, the type of energy that you want to try to only relinquish and let loose when you're working on your own creative endeavors. But what was really interesting is that I've learned, you know, to kind of keep the switch on. You know, don't turn your switch off in terms of like your high vibration, and stay on a high vibration, because then wherever you are in different moments, whether you're in places that you love to be, or you're in places that, you know, you kind of maybe have to be for the moment's sake, you know, to take care of other obligations, you don't have to try to reach to turn the switch on when you get off work. You know, I was getting so many creative ideas the other day just at work, because I was keeping my vibration increased at a high level, instead of, you know, trying to, you know, have that woe is me attitude of like, oh my God, like I don't want to be here at work, or oh my God, I can't wait till we leave. Like, you know, that's the last thing I want to talk about. I don't want to have a conversation about about, you know, where I don't want to be, and, you know, because those types of things, you attract those things, you know, to yourself. And I think when you're just endeavoring to raise your vibration on a higher level, that you don't want to get in a habit of you know, doing a low vibration. Because think about it, like if a high vibration yields more serendipitous moments, things that you can't plan for, you know, positive, amazing, rare, creative occurrences, then if that's completely true, then the direct opposite is also true as well, that, you know, you'll decrease your serendipitous moments by lowering your vibration. So, you know, I just try to surround myself around people that do the same, and I try to be very, very, you know, empathetic to those that are having issues with maintaining a high vibration. I'm not saying run around and act like everything's just all gravy and everything's just perfect all the time. It's cool, in my opinion, to talk about and discuss things, but, you know, after we talk about things, like my wife would say, you know, you might talk about things that are at a low vibration, but bring it back up. You know what I mean? Like, we all have our valley moments, but bring it back into the mountaintops. You know what I'm saying? But like, I think those things also lend to what I would also call is basically, you know, you have like the art of noise by moments of love, but like, how about the art of being yourself? You know, I think the art of being yourself is such a unique individuality. You know, you get a chance to discover, embrace, you know what I mean, go with the punches, so to speak. But like, we're talking about like self-identification, man, and I think you know, there's just such a beautiful cluster of things that, you know, I think more than potentially lend themselves to be something that your creative spirit just like needs to hear. You know what I mean? Because, and I say that your creative spirit needs to hear because my creative spirit needs to hear. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've had some cringe moments in my life, or some cringe characteristics that I thought were cringe characteristics of myself, but, you know, really they really weren't. You know what I mean? I remember just like always kind of getting picked on in school for like my deep voice, you know, getting kicked out of class, you know, like 20 people in the classroom could say 50 words and I say 2 words and I'm kicked out of that class. I remember that was how middle school was for me, just getting kicked out all the time and everything like that, for talking, saying a couple of words and everything. So that was like my cringe moment, my cringe factor portion of my quote unquote, characteristics and my attributes and my personality is like just super deep voice. People, I remember being in a Southern band in college, and it wasn't like something that people made fun of me for by the time I got in college. It was more of a thing that was a deciphering differentiation characteristic that was one of the attributes that allowed me to be individual, and later on I was older, talking on the phone or people hearing me or so on and so forth, it was an attractive characteristic. But I don't want to lean too far into, other people finding it attractive, your cringe portions or parts or attributes, because really it's about us, in my opinion, just, for the moment's sake, uplifting our creative spirit for our own personal creativity. And, that's what I really want to do for us. And, I want us to grow and do it, beyond ourselves and everything like that. I know it could be incredibly exposing, but I mean, what cringe characteristics do you have about yourself? Is there anything about you that's been cringe that maybe, you haven't talked about, or something that you wouldn't mind maybe listing in the comment section? You know what I mean? Because I think that we all have those things, in common, something different, whatever it might be. I think, I honestly think that, like, oh man, like, how can I put this? It's kind of like your favorites, you know what I mean? I think sometimes we can think about things in the opposing way instead of looking at them in more of a favorable way, because if you look at perhaps your favorites, right, your favorites might not be something that everybody else finds as favorites, right? And so I think that those things, also lend to be synonymous with cringe. And I know I'm like digging really deep into this, but I'm digging really deep into this because I do feel like that sense of self-identifying individuality could really help us to really figure out, what it is and who we are, because I mean, I think a lot of us do think we know who we are, but I think if we like pay attention to like the subtle rarities that we're attracted to ourselves, whether it's just walking past a particular store and you're digging something a bit, or maybe just a curiosity, or like I talked about earlier, like that small still voice and acknowledging and everything like that. And I think that we could all spend some time just kind of slowing down radically, you know what I mean? And that's one thing actually that, one of my buddies was telling me quite a while ago when I did a video that was really long. It was my first time doing a very long video, and it happened to be a vlog. And I remember I was like driving Uber at the time. I wasn't working at KH Camera like I am now, but I had the camera on just all day, and I was just kind of, at that time I had a lot of free time to kind of film that way. But I remember my buddy Mike telling me that, like, yo, like, it was something really cool about that long form content. Like, I feel like this is the first video, because like I actually know you. Like, this is the first film that you've ever made where I feel like individuals that don't know you got a real opportunity to really partake in discovering and understanding what it is actually your actual personality from a person that actually knows you. So I thought that was something really, really cool. And so I think that we could all like take the example of spending like a long period of uninterrupted time. It could really help us and fuel us, and also provide for us a moment to really understand our own creative spirit, and I think as we understand ourselves more, it provides itself as an opportunity for us to like find that style, create that style, and really leave a mark, in society in terms of like ourself, starting with ourself is like, society, so to speak, because, even when think about like music, I create, the majority of everything I create is on, live instrument, but there's so many different like electronic things, and there's so many different like new things that are very, very popular. And, some of those things I experiment with. It's cool. I like them. I'm not opposed to, the future, and I'm not opposed to the present evolving and becoming the future. I'm not, holding on or gripping, for for dear God not to, lose the past or anything like that. But what I've learned is that from listening to older music and older instruments, that's something that I like, and so I'm okay with everybody else maybe not being into it and me really liking it, because I've spent time understanding and appreciating those nuances, because I maybe made music one way and then I started making music another way, and then I was just like, you know what, like I kind of like my band geek ways of using instruments and horns and different things like that. It really makes me feel really good, and so I want to share and talk about moments and stories so that we could potentially all slow down just a little bit, take that time. And sometimes it's not a lot of time, but if we're discerning enough to like be able to pick up on how we feel and hearing that still small voice, then we'll be able to make better next decisions, to further us along for our future, so that we can become exactly what we're, you know, supposed to be becoming, with grace and acceptance, So, you know, we'll get to this next section in a minute, which is going to be the art of letting go. The art of letting go is another concept that I think is something that our creative spirits truly needs to hear, and especially because I think that I speak for myself and just say that there's times when I'm so tied up with and so committed to creating a project in a certain type of way that I thought that I should be doing, and I'm also like caught up in that period, that phase that I'm speaking about in terms of the art of letting go. It's like I also am not being present or perceptive in the moment. And I think that when we're not present and we're not really perceptive in the moment of, creating our art, whatever it might be, I feel like we don't allow ourselves to be able to have the opportunity to be able to really, accept and receive, the most special ideas, because we can have like plans, you know what I mean, but our creativity has other plans for us, you know what I mean, like for example, I'm creating this track right now, and in this track that I'm creating, I really wanted to record bass guitar. I had it written in the script and everything. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do the bass guitar at this part, I'm gonna do maybe the electric guitar at this part, and like for some strange reason, like my tuner just wasn't working. I couldn't tune my guitar, and no, I don't have perfect pitch, so I couldn't do any of those things. And so while I wanted to do that, I still allowed myself to be present in the moment. And the truth in that moment is that, hey, this isn't working. So we need to run an audible, and we need to call a different play. And so in the midst of that different play being called, I was able to take the moment to be able, to record an instrument that I hadn't recorded before, which is this flugelhorn right here, which I had gotten it, but I didn't really plan on using it so early in the game. I kind of wanted to get a little bit used to it and everything like that. And I allowed myself to change the plan beyond what the scope of the concrete thought and the concrete direction that I was thinking that things were supposed to go in. I think this stage of being creative, in our journey of making whatever it is that we're endeavoring to make, I think that we have to constantly stay present in the moment, no matter what the moment is giving us. You know what I mean? Like, you can be mad at so many different things, or upset that things are going in a certain direction that they weren't supposed to go that way. Something surprisingly came out of nowhere, and now we're having to deal with a whole different reality that we didn't even know was coming up. You know what I mean? I'm sure that you all can think about thousands, hundreds of different things that happen in your life that you didn't expect them to go that way. But kind of what I'm here to say is that in every moment we should be endeavoring to try to make sure that we're staying in the moment. You know, like stay in that place and be okay with being creative with whatever tools and whatever situations are given to us. You know, we're not just being creative when we're playing instruments or painting or drawing or writing a book or creating content, making a film, getting dressed, doing our fashion thing, painting, you know, painting our clothing. You know, one thing that I learned in art school at Southern University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, was that you yourself are a canvas of art before you ever put a paintbrush to a painting. You are art. You know what I mean? Before you play a musical note, your creative mind is the facility for amazing thoughts and rhythms and different melodies that can allow people to actually decipher, feel, and experience actual true emotion and feeling. That's what we are before we do anything. We literally are creativity. So, you know, let's stay in the moment and let's make sure that we're being creativity wherever we are. You know what I mean? Like anything we do, like we are creativity. It doesn't matter if you're in a bank and you're working with people and communicating with individuals. The sake of being able to control your emotion and have self-discipline to be respectful to people and be respectable to people is an act of creativity with different tools. And those tools are social skills. Those tools are empathy. You know what I mean? Like all of those things are things that we can govern ourselves with in order to create a more perceptive and more impersonal artistic aesthetic for life. You know what I mean? We all have our choice tools that we want to create with, and that's when we get a chance to choose. But when we walk out into the world, you know, we still have that choice, but we have to remember that we're creators in any moment. It doesn't matter what moment. In every single moment, we are in the present, and whether we have our tools that we choose to have or not, like we have tools for creativity. And you know, that's just one of those things that I think that our spirits definitely understand, but it's something that we can work, you know, and do a greater job. We can always get better, right? And so that art of being able to let go in terms of being able to stay in the moment and stay perceptive in the moment so that you don't have to look back on the moment and wish that, you know, you were being creative. You can know that you did that because you were being perceptive of what's happening right now, like what you're thinking right now. Are you endeavoring to think about how this video could be better? Are you just endeavoring to take the tools that I'm giving you and be creative with them? Take this idea of thought and this idea of philosophies that I'm saying and be creative with them. Our jobs are to be creative, not to be judgment. We're not supposed to pass. I'm not going to say what you're supposed to and what you aren't supposed to do, but what I'm saying is that sometimes we take a choice to be a certain type of way that isn't really what we are. You know what I mean? And especially like if you want to be an artist, if you want to be creative, if you want to build up your creative spirit, then don't build up your spirit of judgment, passing judgment on whether this is a dope video, whether this is good enough for you to keep watching, whether or not the person at work is talking to you as somebody that they're getting on your nerves while they're talking to you, or whatever the case may be, you know, because we're judging whether or not the tools that we're receiving in life are good enough for us to be able to be creative with. But the true testament of a true creator is someone that can be handed a dumpster and be able to find usable things inside of there and be able to make some amazing structure or be able to re-articulate whatever it is so that it can have a further life beyond what it's already existed as, which is actually another project that was our first project in art school at Southern University. We had to create something the first week that was created from not purchasing anything, you know? So, you know, those are some ways that I've been challenge to create. And I think that, I was just really looking forward to sharing that with you in terms of like what we had to go through. And, you remember the old saying back, the old was a biology saying that was that energy is neither created nor destroyed. It's just merely transforming or transferring, from one state to another. And so we are energy, you know what I mean? So I think that our creative spirits need to hear that whatever, whenever, wherever we're doing what we're doing, let's try to be creative in those realms. You know what I mean? You don't see like elements from different places going to another place and becoming something different other than what it is. It might maneuver itself differently, but it still like retains its actual identification. You know what I mean? And so the identification I'm talking about is a creative subject, a creative individual, a creative element. You know what I mean? Things go to a different state, and we have like mixed media, right? You have paint, and you have like a collage, or you have like maybe like on a digital audio workstation, you have a lot of digital audio plugins on there and like synthesized keyboards and so on and so forth. But a horn, goes into that digital audio workspace, and it's still an analog signal. It's still a wind instrument being a wind instrument in a different space. It's merely transferred into a digital signal, and it becomes digital in that space, but it's still a horn, you know what I mean? So, go into the world and be who you are, but be who you are within the confinement of whatever that space is, and still be creative while doing that, while being who you are and where you are. Be influential is something that can be creative and contributing, to the space in a beautiful way, because, we're talking about artistry. We're talking about being creators. And, another idea that I was thinking about in terms of like our creative spirits, and, I make these things because these aren't just things I think you should hear. These are things that I'm listening to myself, and I'm trying to, remind myself, in order to try to improve and literally live the life that I want to be living every day. Isolation, is a dream killer, not your attitude. So you might think that, you need to change your attitude. And yes, we've gone on to a different subject matter at this point right now, which is still your creative spirit. But I'm talking about the kind of the construct between isolation and your attitude. There's not, I don't think that we need to like change so much about the way we think about things and the way we maybe behave. It's that, we can also pull ourselves out of a bit of isolation and be able to be contributional to communities in the same creative aesthetic, while still being this nurtured, creative, growing individual. You know what I mean? Like, take yourself out into a space and really just try to, see how the people in the community within that space contribute to taking you to where you want to be. You know what I mean? Prime example is like one day I was off work the other week, and I'm not even gonna lie, I was honestly missing work a bit, and the reason why I say that is because like, I can't wait until the day that I can full-time do what I'm doing here with you guys, and it can continue to grow, and I can continue to grow community and facilitate new ideas and, use new tools and everything like that to continue to have this conversation that I'm having with you, and, it can grow and spread to other people. But it was interesting because I was off work one day, and I'm not gonna lie, I was off work, and all I could do is think about like the challenges that I had at work. It's the challenges with people when I'm in the world that push me to have new subject matters and new stories to talk about. You know what I mean? I think, there's this one thing that I often talk about at times about how you have to be living life and experiencing life in order to have something to take and put back into your music. You know what I mean? And that's one of the reasons I think that a lot of artists can remain and continue to have connection, with their audiences is because they're actually in the world, living in the world. I caught myself a couple of times saying that, like, what kind of music right now is like 50 Cent gonna make, because the life he's living, nobody can relate to it, and I'm just saying because the vast majority of people in the world probably don't make this certain income, so to speak, right? And it creates for like a whole different life, Another thing that I was thinking about is that, well, actually, the previous point, right? The previous point is basically that just without life, you actually have no testimony. You know what I mean? You have no story. A story is a testimony. You know what I mean? And so how can you have a story if you stay in isolation? You know what I mean? So we need to be in the world, but you don't have to be of the world. If you're in the world and you're not in a creative space and you are a creative individual, you're an artist, wherever you are. You're an artist if you're a doctor at a school, you know what I mean? You're a teacher, a professor, you're still a creative if you work in a warehouse. You're still a creative if you work in a restaurant. You're still a creator or an artist, whether you're a teacher or whether you drive and you're a driver that delivers packages, whether you're a lawyer, you're still an artist in that space. And that's why I say that we are in the world, but we're not of the world. You know what I'm saying? The other thing is that happiness it's all in your mind. You know what I mean? It's all your own individualized perception. This other thing I was thinking about the other day is like, that connects to happiness being in your mind is like this group thought trend. It kind of bothers me a little bit because, I've noticed that, like, say, for example, we've got these trends with like Nike Dunks, right? The black and white ones, the panda ones. Everybody wears them, but the interesting thing about it is I'm not saying it's not a great shoe. It's great, classic. I've done polls and surveys on shirt designs that I've done. I remember maybe back in 2013 or so, I polled the entire UNC Chapel Hill campus because I was a FedEx driver. So I would drive to all the different buildings on that campus and I would deliver to all of those buildings. But simultaneously, I was releasing a new clothing line from a previous alias from my music, which is Aeronautics with a Z, And so while releasing this shirt design, it had a plane on it. I had maybe 5 to 8 different colors, and 2 of those colors were black and white, and the other one was white and black. And I hope it makes pure sense what I'm talking about when I flip those and I say black and white versus white and black. The first color that I'm naming in it, if you don't know, is the most predominant color. So when I say black and white, I'm talking about a white design on a black t-shirt. And when I say white and black, I'm talking about a white t-shirt with a black design on it. Just to make sure I don't want to lose anyone at that particular portion by going too fast. But I polled everybody on probably like, I did a survey, and I asked all these people, out of these like 9 color shirts, and 2 of them were inclusive of the white and black and the black and white. I said, well, let me know what colors you like, what shirt would you purchase if I were to release this shirt? What would you like? And I'll be honest with you, every single person that I polled out of hundreds of people on that campus, every single person chose white and black. And then they chose a color. And so we can have like these times where people like things organically because they like them. And so to me, I think it's really cool when people organically like what they like. But when we're exposed to something so much and it becomes a trend and it becomes something that, like I said, it's trending, it's something that's going to show up, the algorithm's going to recommend it all the time or whatever the case may be because the audience is resonating with it. You know what I'm saying? The audience is an extension of the algorithm, and the algorithm is just kind of giving us more of what we say we like. But the group trend thing makes things interesting to me because at which point something begins to become popular, it's no longer organically enjoyed and appreciated because people are starting to like it simply because they've been exposed to it more. So we might think that we have a particular style. It's like, oh man, I love these white and black dunks. This is my style. But Did you truly come to this understanding of liking it because you liked it, or did you just come to it because, and like with like and with appreciation, because you were constantly exposed to it? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a popular opinion now. So the more that you become aware of it, the more that it's possible for your own thoughts to be kind of drowned out. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I say the happiness is all in your mind, because it's your mind that's deciding to hinge upon things and gravitate toward things. But I think that it makes sense for us to be purely clear and understanding about what it is that we know we like and things that we like because the world has exposed them to us. You know what I'm saying? I think that the power of our choice and our own dispositions is that happiness. You know, so if you're actually choosing to like this thing because of your own disposition, your own way of being, then that's what actually makes that thing cool, so to speak. You know, I'm wearing this high color, peachish, orangish, I forget the brand or whatever. It's like Comfort Colors. Yeah, Comfort Colors makes these really weird colors of shirts that you won't see anybody else wearing these colors of shirts. And so to me, I've always liked bold fashion. You know, like I've got these all green LaMelo Ball Puma shoes, and I love them because they're bold. You know, I'm a dark skinned male, and I think that bright colors, they definitely contrast with my skin tone complexion. But I also like to wear bold things because I don't want to just feel like a drab all black. I don't want to feel like drab just in one color, you know. And it's not to just scream and get attention, but you know, I'm not necessarily a very subtle person. You know, I'm chill and I'm cool, but you know, I prefer to talk about ideas that shift the culture into a place where the people actually want to, a direction that the people actually want to endeavor to go in. You know, we want to do fun jobs that contribute to the world, and we want to earn a living doing those fun jobs. You know, we want to live extravagantly and have fun and breathe life into the kids so that they can have that fun too. You know, and if you don't love math, and it's not your, you know, the thing you love, or you don't want to be a nurse, you know, then you shouldn't have to be a nurse. We shouldn't have to pick jobs that we want to pick just because there's this so-called security. You know what I mean? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being a nurse or anything wrong with being in any of those particular positions, but I think that we can get to a space and a place in life where enough of us do what we like, do what we love, that we can share that and expose it to the world, so that perhaps next time, you know, we're empowering individuals to want to do what they want to do instead of doing what they think they should do to be able to exist. Because we can do great and have a great life doing what we love to do. So that's it for this this section on the art of letting go. We're getting ready to go over to the Life is Easy section. All of this is for our creative spirits. So yeah. Life is easy. Why do we make it so hard? I think we make life so hard because it's easy, just because it's fun. You know what I mean? You know, think about it. You know, if you're a creative individual, we are creative individuals. We wouldn't be here if we weren't. You know what I mean? That's literally all I talk about, and that's all that, you know, we want to do. We don't sometimes feel like going to work, or we don't want to do things of that nature, but I think that to sit around and create and come up with solutions for problems is literally the definition of creativity. But we're so creative that even when there aren't solutions to come up with to solve problems, we even cook up problems in order to have a purpose to create a solution. And so I think that's the reason why we make life hard, because it's literally fun. You know what I mean? If you can create and conjure up problems, then you get more opportunities to actually be able to use the facilities, the faculties, the ideas, and you know, and it's almost a sign of, it's definitely a sign of genius. You know, I mean, I think about how, you know, if I'm bored at work and I might just start organizing some things, or if I'm, you know, just outwardly focused, I'll start coming up with,
reasons why people do this or reasons why people do that. I remember Andre 3000 in I think it was the 20th anniversary of Outkast tour. I don't know if it was a tour. I think it was just a show that they did in Centennial Park here in Atlanta. And I always bring this up an example, but Andre 3000 wore this jumpsuit that was it said thinking deeply about shallow things, and I think that would just be really interesting to actually interview him and talk about, you know, real things that we think about and real things that we talk about. I know you've watched interviews at times with some of your favorite creators, and it's like, yo, like this interview really isn't that good, you know? Sometimes interviews are just generically good in a sense that they ask things that most people or some people would think about. But when you think about the perspective of an actual creative individual, a person that, knows a lot, or not even knows a lot, but is kind of the same fabric, cloth, or a creative in the same sense of the word, maybe demographic for the particular artist, then we know that we will learn things that we're actually thinking about. And I think that's, one of the things that, you know, just kind of brings me back to why we actually make life so hard, is because life at times can be boring. It's always throwing something at you. It's always one thing. If it ain't one thing, it's another. You know what I mean? I forget whose song that was back in the day, but if it ain't one thing, it's another. Is it's completely true. But I think that in certain workforces and areas, things can get really boring and drawn out. And in that case, we're gonna become extremely creative individuals in the lack of creative moments being created for us. I would also say to try not dividing your focus until you've generated some progress before moving on to the next creative idea. And the reason why I say that, I mean, especially for our creative spirit, is that we don't really get an opportunity to actually conjure up that solution. It can become super duper interesting for us to do one thing, move on to another, do one thing, move on to another. And before you know it, you've got 10, 15, 20 unfinished projects. And while that's a fun life, it's also fun to actually complete things and create an actual body of work. You know what I mean? Create an album, finish an album. You know what I mean? If you can't finish this one particular type of song because, it's super duper electronic, and then well, maybe you finish that song and then you move on to another thing and you move on to another thing, and you can't come up with 5 to 10 of the same style of song, then maybe perhaps this album was supposed to be a mixed media of all different types of sounds. We got to kind of go with it sometimes. But, you know, I really just try not to divide my focus until I've generated some progress before moving on to the next creative idea, because I don't want to say that we need to understand or that you need to understand, because one thing that I've learned as a creative individual is that I like to not underestimate my own intelligence. Just like I can't remember who it was, but somebody a while ago said, never underestimate your ability to be able to connect with the creativity of the audience. Don't underestimate the intelligence of the audience. The people that are out there in the world for you to connect to will understand and sometimes overstand exactly what you're talking about. I mean, previous videos, there's been comments that I've had with individuals that have led me to understand and believe and trust that there are actually people out there in the world that feel exactly the way I feel. You're doing a video, a film, or putting out a piece of art. Sometimes we misconstrue or disconnect the connectivity of the project with the audience, with the intelligence of the audience. And what I'm saying is that our marketing abilities to be able to connect and find individuals like us is not the same thing as an individual being able to have the artistic intelligence to understand, connect, and be able to generate generate like resonance with a topic, if you know what I mean. Like like the example of, for me to say, you know what I mean? For me to say, you know what I mean, is like, yo, like, do you get what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? And the fact is that most of the time people do understand and they do get what you're saying. But there's a difference between people being able to understand what you're saying and us being able to actually find the people that will understand. You know what I mean? It's like if we were filled in a room full of individuals that would get it if they had the opportunity for it to be exposed to them, then the chances are very frequently high that we would come across people that really get it and really dig, you know, what we're saying, you know. So I just would say that, you know, those goals, they can be accomplished. You know, we actually can achieve those goals, you know, which is a great question, you know. How can we achieve our most ambitious goals is another thing that I was thinking about. You know, how can we achieve the most ambitious goals, you know? And I would say that the way that you achieve the most ambitious goals is, number one, discipline yourself with a goal that pulls you instead of pushing you. Because there's a difference, you know? You ever think about like the cartoony kind of animated way in which, excuse me, you can push somebody, but they're dragging their feet in that direction, you know. Like I'm sticking my feet out this way and you're pushing me this way, and meanwhile I'm just like dragging my feet because I don't actually want to go in that direction. Think about that as like a psychological feeling, you know. Set a goal that makes you feel like it's actually pulling you in that direction instead of pushing you in that direction, because you're gonna I think that I think what I'm really trying to get to is like the sensitivity, like detecting the sensitivity to how we feel about a particular goal. Because some goals we think we want to reach them, but sometimes the truth is that it just will be cool if it happened. You know what I mean? But then again, there's like those other goals that, man, it's like, yo, this is natural. This would feel really great if I, you know, if I did this. And you know, I would say kind of like a prime example for me for a goal that feels like it's pulling me instead of pushing me is generating a relationship with the Moog synthesizer community, you know, and also the brass instrument community and like historically black college and universities community. The goals that you set that are actually a part of your lifestyle are the things that will feel like they're pulling you. And the reason why I say that is because these are things that if you woke up in the morning and brushed your teeth and showered and put on your clothes and got ready to start your day, these not only are things that if you could do whatever you wanted to do in life, you would be doing these things, right? But these are also the things that you make time to do. And it's not because you have to. And I think an easy way to kind of find and figure out what those things are is to kind of think about your past and think about those things in your past that, you know, brought you extreme and immense joy. You know, normally I'll have my tuba in the background and it'll be leaning on the wall or so. I took it to get a quote on repair costs today because I bought a new tuba and found out that, you know, there was kind of some cracks in it, a Sousaphone actually, and there was some cracks in it that need to be repaired. And so, man, I should say man and woman, you know, don't underestimate, you know, who your creativity and your films and things can actually reach. You never know who's going to be seeing this. You know, we're having a conversation and you don't know who's going to be there on the other side. But anyway, you know, drove out to Ohio, picked up this instrument, and the beautiful thing about it is, you know, I've been reconnecting more and more and more with the sousaphone as an instrument, you know, just even more in adulthood, more than ever. Even if it was an instrument that, you know, I played in college, I played in high school, I played in middle school, you know, to me, it's, you know, it's beautiful to think about reconnecting with those things. And I would venture out to say, like, maybe we should reconnect with the person and the individual that we already know ourselves to be, and just go ahead and get rid of like any ideas of like the thing not being cool, or any ideas of the thing not being, what's gonna trend, or what's gonna, catch light or catch fire quick. Because the honest to God truth is that, what makes us who we are as individuals is not what's popular. It's individualistically or idealistically what actually speaks to us, which is one of the primary reasons why I kind of shut down the whole Instagram thing for a minute, and I'm not really on Instagram. All things are pretty much at patrickgregorydaniels.com, and here on YouTube. But I realized, and I would actually, beg of you guys, beg of you, to think about how you feel about things. Think about how passionate you are about things. And as you think about the passion, when those things actually come to your mind, like, ask yourself, am I thinking about this thing, and am I being drawn to this thing because I like it, or am I being drawn to this thing because it's been heavily marketed to me? You know what I mean? I think in my last, actually it wasn't my last video, but one of the previous sections I talked about the Nike Dunks for a brief moment. The white and black Dunks. They're super popular. Panda. Everybody wears them, this, that, and the third. Or any trend for that matter you can think about. And sometimes when you think about these things that you think you like, you start to realize that this isn't actually, this like that you have hasn't actually generated because you yourself are actually interested in it. You become interested in it because it's been shown to you so many times. So you've actually been, or we've actually been programmed to think we like something, but really we've been programmed to be okay with it, or programmed to be, it's kind of like somebody in your classroom, or school or church or any community that you might go to. Like, think about a person that you don't know, they're a stranger. If you walk past them 30, 40 times, 50 times, 20 times, every day, because in the community there's hallways and you walk past each other all the time, you'll start to think about it, like you'll let down your defense mechanism. You won't turn and jerk every time they're kind of around you, because you'll become more comfortable with them being around you. And the more comfortable you become with things, the more okay you become with things. And then it's much more easier to think that you're like welcoming to that particular thing into your space, when in actuality, it's like, I wouldn't actually put this thing, this item, this guitar, this mixer, or even like this flugelhorn over here. It's like, maybe you wouldn't even put these things in your space, but maybe because you become so familiarized with it being placed around you all the time, that now you think maybe you like it. Before you know it, you're like, yeah, man, maybe I should buy me some Dunks, or maybe I should buy me a guitar, because you're always there all the time. So why not? You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, like, we should perhaps, go towards those goals because they're actually what we want, instead of things that we think we should be doing, because they've been exposed to us, and go towards things that actually define like our own personal interests, something that you don't have to exert a lot of energy in order to go towards, because you're actually indefinitely being pulled towards the goal instead of being pushed towards the goal. Then we'll design a life that we love and that we enjoy living on a daily basis, right? So let's go ahead and get to the next session about living without fear. Yeah.
So welcome back, guys. This is the very last segment. I appreciate you hanging out with me this long. We talked about in the last segment about just basically picking those goals that pretty much pull you instead of push you. You know what I'm saying? So then to the next segment, I was just kind of thinking about, living without fear. And I think with living without fear, it's sort of one of those things where, you have to be bold. You have to somewhat, be just going directly towards the thing. Even if that doesn't feel natural to you, I would say, you somewhat have to learn how to take risks. I think about risk all the time, and I think about how risk could be pretty much misconstrued for being or living in an irresponsible fashion. You know what I mean? When it comes to equipment and different types of things. My wife said something yesterday on the phone line with my buddy Leo and I. Leo was getting ready to buy, or he was contemplating buying a Mamiya 6 for photography and trading his Fuji G645. And the guy also wanted to put like $1,400 down. You know, I hope you don't mind me telling this quick story, Leo, if you're watching. But seemingly spending this amount of money, even though you might have it, to others might seem like an irresponsible thing, or because, you know, it's like, yo, like I can't remember the last time I had a spare $1,400 sitting around. Maybe. Hopefully that's not our situation, you know. But my wife said something on the phone that day. Shanoa she said, you know, we're artists. We don't live like everybody else. You know what I mean? Like, we just don't. We do things differently. And I think that what I've been trying to do is make sure that I realize that everybody else's philosophy about life isn't my philosophy about life. So, you know, to be purchasing a $2,900 Sousaphone in the background or whatever the case may be, it would seem like you're supposed to be storing that kind of money up for a rainy day, or you know, building up your nest egg, or building up your emergency fund, or begin to start investing and things of that nature. But as I'm not trying to discredit that style of living or that style of choice making, the type of conviction that we have to have as creators and creativity is that our interest in a thing or our curiosity in a thing is warranted, and it's enough. You know what I mean? It's enough for us to make a decision and to go off by, because those same sensitive inclinations that we have in order to create something are the same sensitive inclinations that we have to encourage and continue to practice and continue to strengthen in order to live life. If we're creators, we don't live like everybody else lives. We don't think the way everybody else thinks. And what's helped me is trying my best in order to continue to practice that muscle, exercise that muscle of being creative, and exercise that muscle of empowering my conviction in order to maintain continuing to live as an artist. Because it can be very interesting in order to try to do things for the first time. If you don't do them all the time, you're switching up, you know what I mean? Like, people say all the time, like, practice makes perfect, or they say that you know, practice makes for improvement, or perfect practice makes improvement. There's all kind of sayings, you know, we've heard them, plenty of them. But my thing is just, you know, let's try to learn to become more sensitive to what it is that we need to become, and the way that we need to think in order to be able to not have to, you know, not be ready, but we can constantly be in a state of getting ready all the time, so that when the moments come, we're constantly improving and improving and improving. And every time we got to make another creative decision, we've already been flexing that creative muscle. And we're not only really good at practicing our yeses to ourselves, but we're also getting better and improving ourselves at saying no to the right things as well. And all of those things, in my opinion, are what design and build the faculties that enable us to be able to have what we would like to call conviction, aka be able to stand 10 toes down. You know, my man Fimo was joking around about the T.I. versus Sun video. It's like 10 toes, standing on my business, standing on my business. But also I would say that, you know, when it comes to conviction, you don't want to stay so decided on the way of things that you don't allow yourself to grow, you know. So also be willing to be malleable so that you can change your mindset. And when you change your mindset, you're able to grow, you know what I mean? But you can still be yourself, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, with all that conviction towards creativity, it's like, hey, like, I know I'm a brass person. I know I'm the type of person that records a lot of brass. I know I'm normally not going to be chopping any samples for the most part. I'm probably not going to be, I hate to call it stealing sounds, but I guess a better way to put it is I'm probably just not going to be the individual that, because I look at sampling music like collages. You know what I mean? Like you have artists that paint paintings, draw drawings, but you also have people that cut out different things and they make something brand new from scratch. And I still appreciate those things and love those forms of, and recognize those forms as artistry, true artistry. I do. And I've changed my mindset enough to actually go down the road and learn how to do what it is an individual does in order to make sample-based beats, enough to build that respect for the craft, and also enough to figure out who I am and what I actually like and love. And that's where I kind of come back to that. So you can grow, change your mindset, but still be yourself. You know what I mean? Because I've learned that my style is what it is, but that same sensitivity that we talked about towards conviction is the same sensitivity that we have to have towards allowing new ideas to come in. You know, it's the creative spirit is one that is somewhat always listening, always young, always willing to hear what somebody has to say. You know, I don't think that my particular opinion is the only opinion. You know, I'm very sensitive to whether people are trying to change me or make me do something the way that they want me to do things. I can detect, and it's not that I can detect, it's that I try my best to allow myself to be in a state of trying to understand and trying to learn. You know, the Bible says in all things get understanding. So I think when people are coming to me with ideas, or even some just spiritual download, an idea comes into my mind, I'm wondering about it. Like I'll wonder about it, I'll think about it, and then I'm constantly just trying to see whether or not this is something that I could learn from by trying. Is this something I've tried before? And if I've tried it before, have I done so much growth to the point that me trying this again might have a different perspective to me because of the new things that I've learned? Because new things that have been introduced to your life may change your viewpoint on a certain situation. Think about if Kanye West dropped an album with like horns and mixed with samples, then it's possible that I might start to think about what it might be to make a track, some music, a beat, a whole album focused around blending and marrying together samples and horns. But hadn't I changed my mindset and thought about what's going on in this current period of time, I might still look at that idea as if, oh, well, I tried this already. I don't really need to do this again because I've done this before. But guess what? You're not who you once were in the present right now while trying that other thing. You know what I mean? So I would say that, you can change who you are in a different period of time, but still have that conviction to knowing who you are in the moment. But also, because a lot of what we're talking about is centered around, philosophy and the way we think and the way our thoughts and the way ideas come to us and from a creative space. That's another reason why I kind of wanted to talk to you also about the life-changing power of words. I feel that with the life-changing power of words, we can also like choose our destiny through the words that we don't accept, and the words that we do accept. Because people can, I know a lot of spiritual people will say things like, don't let people speak any words, just any kind of thing over your life, so to speak. And so while I would say that, it's kind of true that you shouldn't really let or accept certain things being spoken into or near you, in your life, don't, be careful to what you agree upon and all those types of things, because what you agree to and what you shake and nod your head to and all those types of things are sometimes spiritually, they're a sign of acceptance. You know what I mean? And it's like having broke conversations. And I also would like to govern like this whole section right here, this particular section I'm speaking about, in the space of like, I'm not encouraging anybody to get in arguments with people. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need to be having any hot debates, deep debates, or debates full of angst, and aggression, when talking and speaking to people. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking more about just what you accept in terms of verbal words and things that are being spoken over your life, and just trying to really speak about the life-changing power of words, which also lends itself into like visualization as well, which I'm not going to dive too deep into that. But when it comes to verbal, perfect example I could give is, a lot of us might talk about things that are, that's too expensive, or that's, I can't afford that, or something like that. But there's ways that things come to you in ways that I couldn't even, you don't need money to do things all the time. Sometimes it's relationships, but if your words limit things just by talking about money, then your mindset will also like be it won't be embracing to the idea that things can come to me in a way that aren't by money, because you have to open your mind to the possibilities of how to receive things in any type, shape, or form. And money is just a currency, but relationships are also a currency. So kind of what I'm getting at is like, if through your words you limit what can be afforded to you, and you're talking about money, then like the creative spirit doesn't really look at the currency of money, or the currency of relationship, or the currency of special occurrences, or the when I talk about special occurrences, I mean like receiving something through like an inheritance, or receiving something through like a gift. When I talk about the currency relationship of relationships in specific, I'm talking about like knowing someone, and by virtue of knowing someone, the currency of that relationship affords you access to backstage at tons of concerts, because somebody that works as a artist management or something, or they work for a venue, right? But so what I'm getting at is just like, through your words you could limit acquiring things by any sort of way. It doesn't matter about money, but we have to govern the way that we speak and talk about things, so that we don't generically limit everything coming into our lives by any vast array ways of of investment. We could have things invested into our lives in any kind of way, but when you talk about things, you don't want to limit any one of the ways that things could occur in your life. Don't shut down one of them with your words at all. You know what I mean? But look, if you made it this far, I just want to say, from every part of my heart, thank you. I really appreciate it. This one video right now, this particular section right here, the power actually went out, so I'm in front of a window trying to get some good natural light, but I really wanted to make sure I got this video done. I know I've been doing rather long videos because I remember once my buddy Mike Collins, he saw and I probably talked about this in another video, but he talked about a vlog that I did, that I pretty much filmed everything that I did in the whole course of like one day back when I used to drive Uber. And he was telling me that because of the length of that video, I feel like that's the first time, and he knows me well. And he was like, man, I feel like this video is the first video that you've ever done that actually gave people that don't know you an introspection into what your personality is like and what it is to really actually be around you. And so with him saying that, I really wanted to kind of push, I wanted to be pulled to want to do this in this type of fashion. I mean, it also kind of goes together with the fact that, you know, I think maybe my last film was filmed on the Fuji X100V, and I think when you switch it to HD, full HD mode, you get like a maximum of 15 minutes per recording. And I wanted to make longer films with that camera, so I had to separate everything into 15-minute segments. And so what my wife was saying was, hey, you know, just divide an hour out into 4 15-minute segments, and then you got your hour-long video. And the last film that I made, it's the one that's had the most views on this channel to date. And so I finally got the audience was finally digging, you know, something that I made, and I finally kind of feel like I'm, I guess, kind of reaping some of the fruits or the rewards of working on this channel for so long. And you know, I hope I'm not wrong. I could be wrong though. You know, that last video could be one and it have 11,000 views, and then all the rest of them are like 20, 30 views again. But you know, I hope not. But you know, it felt good. You know, so you know, if you guys had anything to do, if you're watching this film, you had anything to do with the last film really growing and the channel really taking off, I just want to say thank you. You know what I mean? The last video put this channel over 1,000 strong in the community. So there's 1,000, maybe 1,500 people now that, you know, are a part of this community, you know. And so I'm very thankful, you know what I mean? If you have my website, patrickgregorydaniels.com, where I'll be releasing music and everything like that. I don't want to advertise to you guys, you know. I don't want to sell to you guys. I mean, I do make things and everything like that, but what's most important to me is you all, you know. And I want you guys to know that. I want you guys to know that I'm very thankful for you all. I'm thankful for you all checking out the film again, like I said, on behalf of patrickgregorydaniels.com. Last but not least, you know, I want you guys to create something amazing and just have a great everything. You know what I mean? I have a buddy that's Noble. He's making YouTube films and being a little bit more regular and productive with that, and I'm glad that, you know, some of the things that I'm doing can inspire others. You know, I'm getting to be a part of the HBCU Battle of the Bands culture more. You know, went to a high school Battle of the Bands just recently, the Dollar Watson Classic here in Atlanta at Morehouse College. And that was really fun, you know, just to be around there doing some photography for them, and seeing some former alumni from Southern University. It's just really good, y'all. And I'm saying all that to say that, you know, community is a beautiful, amazing thing, and you know, some people see the value in community at a young age, and some others see it in older age. And I just want to stress, you know, how important you all, we are, the people are, you know, how important our ideas are, how important what we feel is, you know, as opposed to, you know, what anybody else is doing. You know what I mean? We don't need to justify our actions based upon trends or what anybody else is doing. We need to do what we feel is right, and we need to create a workflow that we feel like we enjoy doing, and a pace of that workflow that also feels natural. You know, there were many times in the last week that I really wanted to kind of hurry up and push this video out, you know, and I didn't do it. I took my time, and you know, it wasn't like lazy. It was more like, man, you know, like I'm a little tired in my job, or I drove up to Ohio 8.5 hours and 8.5 hours back, you know what I mean, to go pick up this tuba in the background, Sousaphone, and it needs a lot of repairs that I didn't know about. And you know, sometimes I forget about how much certain tasks can tire you out and how much you need to regain energy. And I think as much as we enjoy creating films and and wanting that dream to come to fruition, where we can do this right here where we are in this space together full time. Sometimes we'll create crazy amount. We'll drive ourselves in the ground just trying to get another subscriber. And while I definitely want that to happen for me as well, I also think that if we create a workflow that doesn't feel good, then when whatever it is we're endeavoring to create becomes successful, we would have created a workflow or a work ethic that we can't sustain. You know what I mean? I want to create a channel here that it's a natural pace. You know what I mean? If it's one video a week, it's one video a week. If it's one video every 2 weeks, one video every 2 weeks. I want to do a good job at doing it, but also want it to feel natural. You know what I mean? I don't want to be dragging and exhausted, and I'm just trying to hurry up and just push something out to you guys just to throw something there. You know what I mean? It's like somebody bringing a pizza at a pizza restaurant, an Italian restaurant, and they didn't take their time and really put love into it. And that's what I did into this film, and that's what I'm trying to do with all the films. I don't want to give you guys fast food, you know what I'm saying? But y'all, like I said again, thanks for checking out the film on behalf of PatrickGregoryDaniels.com. I want to thank YouTube. And y'all, hopefully this inspires you to create something amazing and have a great everything. Peace.